That's all very theoretical. Let's look at a practical example. Bondi Beach, piece of handrail. Somebody's welded it up and they've got a vertical, which is about 0.6-ish micrometre. So it's a bit rough and it looks a bit corroded. Across the bottom, we've got about 0.4 micrometre RA. That looks nice. Actually, the other point is that the bottom one will also drain, so it'll drain away stuff, whereas the top one, it's polished around, so things will tend to accumulate. Yeah, so there's two things against it. So what's happened in the middle? Well, in the middle, the bloke has welded it up and he's had heat tint all over the place and he's taken out his picking paste, dipped his brush in it and brushed it on. And you can see down the bottom underneath, there's a little brush mark where he's just brushed it on, left it for a while and then washed it off. And so the difference between that vertical post where it's rusted and it's not rusted is that the surface of the bottom part has been passivated, has been cleaned up, has been pickled. That's it. And there's a little note there saying that around the bottom where they've got a bit of stain around the weld, they didn't quite pickle it for long enough, but hey, that's the world. Picture summary, nice, highly polished top, bright and shiny, the side, number 4 finish, bit rough, so it's corroded, down beside the seaside. Stainless steel, it's a premium product. It costs you big dollars up front to buy it, so handle it with care. Careful maintenance, careful handling, and careful fabrication. You don't go wrapping it up and putting pieces of carbon steel on it and getting rust like that. Or you don't gouge it like the bottom one there. Or you don't grind near it and spray carbon steel over it, because then when you get the carbon steel rusting, you get leopard spots. And you can take them off, but you really don't want to have to do it. And if you've got tilers around, then that's not nice, because tilers tend to use hydrochloric acid for taking off the excess mortar, and if you get hydrochloric acid sitting on stainless steel, this happens. Mind you, this was me putting some hydrochloric on a bit of 2B304 sheet, but the same thing happens, and I've seen it much worse than that. Ongoing care and maintenance, well, it's not no maintenance, it's low maintenance. Warm, low chloride water, bit of detergent and wipe dry, otherwise you get water stains. They're water stains, but they still look like stains, and people say, stainless steel shouldn't stain. Never, ever, ever use hydrochloric acid on stainless steel to clean it. You can use phosphoric, but hydrochloric, it'll just make it worse. The chlorides are bad news. And don't use abrasives. And if you do use abrasives, polish along the polish lines. Don't polish across, because you're going to bend things and cause crevices. And if hygiene requires that you've got to use bleach, well, all right, dilute it and then wash it off afterwards. And this is some casual maintenance. The sea is 50 metres that way, and this is just a wash down. It's potable water, and you can see there's rust up the top. There's no rust where the water's been washing the salt off. Up the top, the salt just accumulates and then corrodes. Effective rain washing, if it's outside, can do it well. The frequency of manual cleaning depends on how bad the environment is. And the rule of thumb, if you're going to clean glass, if you've got a window there and you clean it, then clean the stainless steel. These are some guidelines that came from the Japanese Stainless Steel Association, saying that, well, if you're in a clean environment, give it a wash every 6 to 12 months if it's 316, or 3 to 6 months if it's 304. And if it's polluted in urban or industrial or coastal, then there's some recommendations for the 316. But it depends on the environment and the design too, so you need to be careful. Common cleaning agents, rain, I've said, hot water power wash. Gold Coast, they get a trolley, a truck going around in Gurney, basically sprays down the stainless steel about once every 3 or 4 months and gives it a wash, cleans it up, gets the salt off, bingo, there you are. Degreaser, you might need ammonia and water or alcohol or acetone, not usually. And if you're doing domestic stuff, then vinegar can be quite good, or citrus cleaners sometimes. But you're getting the grease off so that you can actually clean the stainless steel underneath. And then water rinse and squeegee, again, avoiding the water stains. And there's an FAQ on the ASDA website. Here's a bundle of other bits of information: the ASDA website, the Nickel Institute website, the British Stainless Steel Association, sister organisation, the International Stainless Steel Forum, an enormous source of information, including a lot of stuff on sustainability, and the International Molybdenum Association. They're mainly interested in things like 316 or duplexes, and ASTM provider standards. You can buy them from the Australian Standards Association. Regrettably, they tend to be more expensive, but I didn't say that. And that's it. Any questions? Yeah. It's basically what's in your water that will stain the thing. If you try not to abrade it, but if you have to abrade it, then just use something very fine. But usually you don't need to, well, try not to get where you've got, I gather, is really what I'm saying. The water drying out and staining is going to be a pain, and you probably have to do, you might get rid of it just with a good solid rub, but even cloth will tend to abrade the surface if you're rubbing it really hard. Water stains are a real bind, particularly if you don't want to actually change the surface too much.
So you've just got to squeegee it. That's the best way.
Squeegee it, maybe use a bit of solvent. There may be something else in there. I just don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Speak up.
You had a lot of stuff about cleaning off the stain. Tea stains on.
Tea stains is actually rust, and to take rust off, you really need to use an acid. The most available acid that people can get is phosphoric acid. You can buy that quite easily, and provided it's food grade phosphoric, and mostly it is, that will just take it off. You need to make sure you get it all off, and don't go dropping it on the concrete floor underneath, because phosphoric will attack the concrete. Okay? Yep.
We use CLR, which I think is lactic acid and propylene glycol.
Calcium, lime and rust,
yes,
CLR.
Is that any use on stainless? Or is it damaging?
It can be damaging. They changed the formulation a while ago, and I'm not quite sure what they've got. But if there's any hydrochloric in it, run a mile. If it's got phosphoric acid, if it's got citric acid, if it's got sulfamic acid, sulfamic is used in food industry stuff, then it won't be too bad. But phosphoric is probably the best. Oxalic is actually quite good, but unfortunately oxalic is a bit poisonous. It's the stuff that's in rhubarb leaves. It's used in a product called Clearball, which is used for dissolving iron out of bore waters if they're clogged up.
You have to take your wood stains off.
Rust stains off as well, yeah. It's a chelating agent. It's like the stuff that the dentist uses on your teeth when they're trying to stick things in. They paint this stuff off, it dissolves a bit of the calcium out, gives you a rough surface that he can then stick whatever it is that he's going to stick on. And it's also, sorry people, and it's also used in wastewater treatment plants for getting rid of, chelating out metal ions. I think there was a question down the back, yes.
How can you avoid a situation of anaerobic corrosion in the water situations? Or water flows, if this goes on, you don't even know it's happening.
Yeah, you need to have, for it to be anaerobic corrosion, you actually need to have a corrodent there, and quite often if you're anaerobic and you've got sulfate about, then you may find that it's actually microbiological effects, and sulfate-producing bacteria are causing it. That can be what happens down the bottom of a reservoir underneath the sludge where there's no oxygen, but the SRBs cannot stand oxygen at all, so they won't occur in areas where there is oxygen. I'm not sure that that's quite answered your question, but the other bit of it is that if the stainless steel is in a good and passive state before you start, then you should be pretty much okay. If you're truly anaerobic, then you don't get any corrosion at all. And all I need to do is point to the fact that the oil and gas industry use 316 with 10% sodium chloride, zero, literally zero oxygen, and they don't get corrosion. But bugs can be a real problem.